Hello, hello, and welcome to Saturday Soundbites. I'm your host, Veronica Sofer. Here on Saturday Soundbites, we talk all things visibility strategy, public relations, marketing, advertising, branding, you name it. All those components that are going to help you build a strong visibility strategy. And I have a great guest for you today. We'll introduce her in just a second, but let's take care of a little housekeeping. If you are listening on the podcast, make sure you hit subscribe. We don't want you to miss any episodes of Saturday Soundbites. And if you are watching the video on replay or on replay on YouTube or on Facebook, make sure you let us know so that my guest and I can connect with you. We will go ahead and get started with this episode because I know this is one you're going to want to take notes on. Welcome up to the stage, Lara Schmoisman. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Now, pronounce your name just in case I didn't say it correctly.
It's Lara, like Lara Croft, and Schmoisman.
Schmoisman. Okay, I did pretty good there.
It is pretty good.
Awesome, awesome. Well, I know names are important and it's part of our brand, so I wanted to honor that. Lara, tell us a little bit about yourself, and we're going to get into the nitty gritty of marketing and being able to really support our businesses, but let's introduce you to folks.
Okay, well, most people will know me for my last few years that I'm the CEO of the Darl. I was named Forbes Next 1000 nominee for LA Inspirational Woman, and also my company was nominee for LA Times. It's such a long term. I always forget it. It's accessibility, inclusion, and equality.
Love it.
It's really important to me. When I created this company, I created with a set of values that were important to me. And why I'm saying this, because I come from a long career, that not necessarily in marketing. I started in radio, then I moved to television. I did a lot of entertainment, red carpet. Then I moved into distribution, DVDs, all motion graphics. And then I fell in love with online. My first website was 1998, so you can think about it. Yeah, so I seen it all. Back then, there wasn't careers of digital marketing, so I was learning as I made mistakes. And then I ended up teaching digital marketing for the fashion industry at Cal Poly Pomona. What also opened my eyes, because for me it was like I always give it for granted things that I learned and I knew how to do, because I had to do it. I was on the job, my hands dirty, I was doing it. But I realized how much there was out there, that people were pretending to do marketing or areas of marketing, but they really want to do it. They knew in the last few years, everyone has access to marketing tools or doing a website, but doesn't mean that are creating those elements for performance.
Yes.
And marketing is about performance and analytics and reading the results and improve.
Yes, absolutely. So talking about growth, because you talk about having an ecosystem for nonstop engagement and growth. What does that look like? So if you're in the online space, you're new to the online space, and you're maybe working with somebody on a marketing campaign or an advertising campaign, or maybe even working with a PR professional like me, we all need to be able to measure it and look to those analytics, as you mentioned, and see that growth. So what does it look like in your space when you're talking about developing a roadmap for that type of success?
For me, it's very simple. It's create all about strategy. First of all, you need first to know your brand, where you starting, and know your current analytics. Know what's your conversion, know your click-to rate, if you have ads, how the ads are performing. And from then on, that's your baseline. Then you need to grow. Every company grows differently. Every company has a different strategy, and every company has a different budget. So you cannot compare. Every company is unique, and you need to treat them uniquely also. I also believe in creating sustainable strategies, because I work with a lot of smaller business or medium-sized businesses that they don't have a huge budget for advertising. And the advertising money goes like you use it and it's gone, it disappeared. So if you don't have that budget for advertising, I believe in creating strategies that use a little bit for advertising, but a lot of organic growth.
Right.
Of course, it's going to be a slower process, but at least it's sustainable. Otherwise, you will use all your budget and then you have nothing left.
No, that makes complete sense. And I loved the idea of having a blueprint and an ecosystem set up ahead of time. What does that foundational work look like when someone's considering implementing something like this?
Well, first of all, I believe that you need to know who you are and your
Hmm.
core beliefs and what you're standing for. Then you need to know your products, you need to know the competition and how you're different to them. I mean, you
Hmm.
know this from PR that when you pitch someone, you need to show them what are unique and what makes them different. It's the same
Hmm.
for marketing. I
Hmm.
see a lot of companies fail because they trying to copy strategies from someone else. And
Yeah.
you are already competing for the same market, and then you're trying to compete using the same strategies that work for someone else. You don't know the other person's circumstances, you don't know the other person's budget, you don't know how long they've been in business or what they've been doing. So you need to create your own strategy. It's totally fine to look at your competition and see what they're doing better.
Hmm.
It's great, but you need to develop your own strategy, knowing your own values, what sets you apart, and how you're different from the competition, and then create your own omni-channel strategy. As you know, everything now it's algorithm based, and we need to know where people is, and do we need to do absolutely be in every platform? Absolutely not. We need to
Hmm.
know where our target audience is. It will be a waste of time and resources to be everywhere and not being performing, because that will affect your algorithm as well.
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. And what are some of the mistakes that you think people make when they're considering this? I mean, obviously, you just gave a great example of being somewhere where your target audience isn't, but what are a few other mistakes that people make as they're trying to navigate this?
Well, other mistakes that I see is that I I call it the foundation. We
Hmm.
need to have a very strong foundation, and I do a lot of consulting with people, and I talk to them, and there's some of them they're not ready for a marketing strategy because they don't have the budget, they cannot make it sustainable, or they say I want to hire PR, and I think PR is a great tool, we offer it in the agency too, but it's not for everyone if you're not ready.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
mean, PR takes time. And you're not going to see anything immediately. The same with SEO. You're not going to see immediate results. So you need to be able to sustain that. And one of the mistakes I see is that people not planning for that time. They think that everything will happen immediately, and which is not the case, and also not to have a strong foundation. And I think the strong foundation first is your branding. You have to have a very unique, memorable branding,
Hmm.
and also to have a strategy in place to use that branding across all platforms, which means that branding needs to be able to translate in the native language of each platform. You
Yeah.
cannot use your branding the same on your website than in social media, than in podcasts. You need to use it in their native language because you have restrictions and you need to make it work.
Hmm.
So having a strong branding, that's a first step. And then choose your platforms and make sure that you have a strong home base. I always call the website your home base.
Yes.
If
Yes.
your website, you don't need a fancy website, but you need a website well built. And fortunately, because it's a cheap way to go, and you can go and get your website out by yourself, but it doesn't mean that it will perform well.
Hmm.
So I
Hmm.
always say invest, even if it's a small website, but in a small website that is well built and SEO ready, so you can build up to that. Fixing mistakes is a lot harder than start from zero.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, that's so true.
Yeah.
And and when you are working with someone and they're starting from zero, what are some of the first, other than the foundational things that you talked about, what are some of the first things you try to implement in a marketing strategy? And I know it's going to be different. You said, unique for each business, because our target audiences are different. But what are some basics that you start with after they've got that foundational work done?
Well, you need to have a strategy to maintain SEO.
Hmm.
That's really important to get your organic search building because that takes time. And there are so many tools out there, but marketing is about two things: authority and relevance. To me, be the one who do the best. You're the best in what you do, to show that, and relevance to people to find you. So you need to work on those two things. And SEO is a great way to work. The same PR, I believe that there are two ways to do PR. One of them is for public relations, media outreach, which is great, and it's amazing when you get it, but it takes time. But also there is ways to do PR for SEO.
Yes. So true.
And that's super important.
So when you're thinking about your SEO and you've got a limited budget, what are a couple of things that you should invest in? Should it really be like a copywriter? Should it be an SEO expert to come in? Because I think you're right. A lot of people might not quite be ready to bring on an agency or a team of professionals, but they've got a little bit of budget. And so how would you suggest they start that first step?
My suggestion, honestly, I started a new program. It's a consultancy program.
Okay.
Because I realized that a lot of people were trying to go and hire SEO experts or writers, but they were doing things without strategy. And that's a big problem. So you can do all this, but if you don't have a strategy in place, that's not going to go anywhere. Because I see people that I invested in SEO. Yeah, it's great, but all the keywords that they put in your website, they're not relevant for you.
Yeah, right.
So people are going to find you for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
So that's super important. So I realized that there was a lot of people that they were not ready for an agency, or they didn't have a budget for a web agency, or they weren't ready for letting their baby go.
Yeah,
that's totally fine and normal, and I understand it. But this is another thing I've seen so many people burned by, and I would say 95 to 98% of the people who come to me come from these experiences, because they hire someone to do their Instagram, they hire someone else to do their TikTok, someone else to do their SEO, and didn't know how to. I'm not saying that they did a bad job or they didn't know what to doing, but the fact that they were completely different entities trying to do something for one brand, they were talking like different languages, and the branding wasn't there and the strategy wasn't there.
Yeah.
It's the same like you're doing PR for someone who sells, I don't know, green hats, but the website says hats.
Right.
So we need to make sure that we all having the same message, the same keywords, we all going in the same directions. Otherwise, it's not going to work. So that's why I created this program. It's a consultancy program. It's a 4 months program, one-on-one with me. And I give them the same tools that I use in the agency. And I help them to build a strategy, a sustainable strategy for a year. And also what I do is I teach them, when they need to hire a freelance, what are the questions that they need to do or what they need to work on. So then when they're ready to work with the freelancers and with whatever budget they're managed, they at least know what they're asking for.
Right. They know the language. They know how to.
Exactly. How many times it happened to me at the beginning of my career that I was working with a developer, for example, and they would tell me, oh, no, this will take a month work. And now I can say, no, this will take you 20 minutes.
Right. Having that knowledge. That sounds like a fantastic resource. And what are the next steps? You've got your SEO in place. You've now grown your business. You've grown some sustainability built into it, and you're ready for what's next. What does that look like? Or what should someone expect when they're looking to hire an agency? Because I get that question all the time. How do I know if that's a good PR agency, or how do I know if that's a good advertising agency? And I give them my insight, but I'd love to hear from you. What are some of the things that you try to encourage people to look for when they're looking for that, when they're ready for that?
First of all, I feel like I have to have a one-on-one with the person, and I have to feel like that connection, and that we are really in a place that we can communicate and I can help them. Because if they're closed-minded, like it happens to me, they don't want to share passwords. You're not ready for an agency.
Right. That's a great example. I love that example.
Yeah, if you're not ready to share passwords and to be honest with me, I cannot help you. It happened to me that clients are reluctant to give me passwords, or they hide information, like they have multiple accounts for things. And so how can I work? I need to be transparent because I work with analytics, I work with data, and I need to collect the data to see what needs improvement and what is being done.
Hmm.
Even if nothing was done, I need to see what I'm working with.
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. I love it. That's a great tip. So that's a good reminder, listeners. If you're not ready to give up your passwords, you're probably not ready for an agency. So just keep DIYing it until you get comfortable enough to let that baby go, so that you can bring in an expert.
Yeah, and you totally need to trust the agency that you work. You need to feel that you connect, that you're communicating, that they're responsive. And I always, to my prospective clients, I say, you want to talk to my current clients, call this person, call this person. I'm completely open about this because it's what I would like
Hmm.
to do as a client. I've
Yeah.
been scammed too many times in my life in this business. Even hiring, I've been hiring people. I hire people that they sell themselves. They know have pretty words and they know how to sell themselves. But then when it's time to work, they they don't know what they're doing.
Right. Right. No, referrals are really important. And I always ask people to call first before they decide to work with me, because I want you to connect with someone that I have a relationship with, so that I can understand and they can understand what it is you can expect from the relationship. So I think that's really great advice.
Thank you. I think it's important also to check. Listen, I am who I am, and with me, you get what you see. I'm blunt. I'm gonna tell you what I see, and most of the times, like a few weeks ago, I had a woman almost cry in a consultation because I had to give her the numbers. I ran her numbers in software that we have, and her website was horrible. I mean, and she spent fortunes on that website.
Oh,
And she was like, but say, okay, it's a website, it's pretty, you like it, but it's not performing. And also your UX is not working for your audience. You cannot
mm-hmm,
find things.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really hard news to hear if you don't know what you're looking for. I love that you're really trying to educate people along as part of the process, and not just work for them, but educate them.
I think it's important. It's part of the transparency.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree, definitely. Well, Laura, how can people work with you? Obviously, you've got that coaching program that you shared, but what are some other ways that you work with folks?
Okay, so they can call my agency, and that's thedarl.com.
Hmm.
They can send us an email or they can call us and we can schedule a meeting and a consultation. I always give a consultation to see if people are ready for us. And we'll just make that decision together.
Hmm.
I think it's a decision that it needs to be made from both sides. Then the website that you put on right there, that's the
Yes.
coaching program. Then the Darl.com is my agency. And also I created an online program that whoever is not ready for it and are not ready for consulting, I do think that they need to know the basics of marketing.
Yes.
So I created this online program that are 12 modules that actually is at $368. But I believe during pandemic, I feel like everyone and their mother started making online trainings. And I got fed up with it. So I wanted everyone to have it. So I'm selling it for $27.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I want people to have access to it, and I want people to understand the basics of marketing and the ecosystem so they can then go to next steps and stop. Like, there are so many online trainings out there that they are crazy, and there are people that they think that after doing an online training they know everything.
Right. Yeah.
I have been 30 years working in this world, and I still learning every
Oh,
day.
yeah. Yeah, and things change so quickly. So what worked 5 or 10 years ago isn't working today
Oh my God,
necessarily.
the algorithms change week by week. I need to have
Yeah.
training all the time, see Facebook algorithm and Instagram algorithm and TikTok, and every time there's more and more. And Google Ads change the rules and the limitations. It's something that you keep learning.
Mhm. Yes.
So,
Oh, I agree.
and I feel like a lot of they so do it yourself right now so much, and that they sell you the they believe that you can do it yourself and you will succeed. And there are very few people that they do that. So whatever you need to think your business, are you making money in your business? If you're starting up, you're broke and you're doing this just to try something new, go for it. But if you already have a business running and it's profitable, think of another ways. You shouldn't be doing your website. You shouldn't be doing your social media. You shouldn't be doing things that take time away from what is profitable for you.
Mm-hmm. That's so true. That is so true. The power of delegation is one that will change the trajectory of your business. Absolutely. Well, I love that you gave some great advice. Your website is there on the screen. It's also in the show notes for our listeners. Any parting advice as we wrap up the episode?
Uh, no, just keep learning. It's really important you as a business owner, as a marketing consultant, and that you really, your reputation is important. Your
Yes.
authority is important in any business that you have. So, like my dad will say, shoemaker to your shoes.
There
Just
you go.
concentrate on doing what you do well and let others do their job. Like I will never try to, I have a lot of clients that they're doctor, and like I always say, like I can potentially go and buy a surgical kit, but doesn't mean that I should be performing surgeries. Uh, it's the same for marketing.
Yes. Agreed. 100%. Well, very great advice, Laura. Thank you so much for joining us on Saturday Soundbites. It was wonderful having you on the show.
Same here. Thank you so much, Veronica.
All right, that wraps up our episode of Saturday Soundbites. As always, you can find me on my website at veronicavsofer.com. Follow me on Facebook. You can also catch me on YouTube and LinkedIn. And I'm always ready to talk visibility strategy because at the end of the day, that's what's going to help you grow your business, grow your brand. If you are listening on the podcast, make sure you hit subscribe. We don't want you to miss any episodes of Saturday Soundbites. And if you are watching on replay, hashtag replay, so my guest Laura and I can go back and connect with you. And with that, I'm sending you lots of positive energy